This week, PAPI is still structure bashing, the Imperium is still structure bashing, and surprise, surprise, third parties are still structure bashing. Soft cleanup in the south and the southeast continues, and I have 3 rather strange Killmails to brighten up your day. Hello pod people, I am Frost, and this is your EVE Online War Update. Welcome back. So, as I said during the intro, there has been a lot of structure bashing going on, but other stuff has been happening as well. And as usual, I am going to jump up into my box. We're going to start off with .lan. If you're not familiar with the format, I'm just going to draw out the regions that we are covering. I'm going to actually include OMIS today because I actually have a little bit of news about OMIS. So it's kind of my fish with the long tail. I think you're familiar with that now. So we're going to just jump straight in. Let me delete that. And we are going to go, first of all, to Tenerife's. Nothing's going on in Deterid, so we're going to go to Tenerife's. And the first thing we're going to talk about in Tenerife's is obviously down here in the south. We talked about this last week, that Vindictive were having their SOV attacked. And as you can see, that is clearly happening. SOV is being removed all over the place. I'm not quite sure by who, or by whom, should I say. But hopefully I will be able to find out sometime during the week and let you know. The one thing that I have noted though, if I just change colour, is in the northeast here, XIX, that's Legion of Death, are creeping back into Tenerife's. And they've actually taken these systems from Army of Mango. So Army of Mango are with Legacy Coalition. XIX and Legion of Death are Fire Coalition. But they are on a very amicable terms. So I assume this is just some kind of a trade going on. And it may be due down to this system right here, 16AM-3. Now this is a Keepstar system. Now I don't know whether the Keepstar is still with test or it's one of the Keepstars that got handed over to XIX in the same way that C006 was. But one of the benefits obviously is that if you hold this system, let me just give my colors again. If we hold 46 DP, which is just the bridge into Deterid into the next region where XIX are based along with Razor, they could then have basically projection into 16AM-3. So that may be the reason for these systems being taken. They just want to take the whole constellation so they can secure the iHub properly. Just a guess there, but I got a feeling that that's what that is all about. So what else happened in Tenerife's? Okay, a couple of things. We still have lots of Eternal Requiem stuff dying all over the place. We had a Satio in RH0, which is right there. And this died to an Init, and that's the Initiative, Mac Fleet, and a bunch of Goonswarm carriers and Feroxes, and even some third parties just kind of all jumped in to get on that Satio kill. Also notable is a Test Fortizar died in UALX, and this is also another Keepstar system for a Test Keepstar, part of the Test Keepstar chain. So that'll be interesting to see if that kind of goes any further. Obviously that Fortizar was killed by KIC, which is the Ministry of Inappropriate Footwork, who have been basically doing pretty much all of the SOV removal of Eternal Requiem or Requiem Eternal from this region. It's also quite interesting really that Siberian Squad still have SOV in Tenerife's. Clearly no one cares about Tenerife's right now in terms of actually holding SOV here, except obviously XIX. Right, so that wraps up Tenerife's. So what we can do now is we can move on to Immensia. So Immensia, we now have basically Vindictive kind of still holding out here. So you can see that they've had one system reinforced in R-ORB7. But otherwise, the only thing that's been happening is their structures have been dying. So they had a Fortizar die in DR-427, and that was to 4 Tickle Titans, so Tickle being Tactical Supremacy. Tactical Supremacy used to belong to Legacy Coalition. They're now third parties, but they're great friends with a bunch of other alliances that are Russian-speaking, like Straya Post. But this time they attacked it with Siege Green, they attacked with Wrecking Crew, and a whole bunch of other friends as well. In fact, I have a battle report here, which I will just bring up for you. I think it's this one. Is this one? Yeah, DR-47. So you can see, yeah, we've got 4 Tickle Titans. We had Siege Green and a bunch of Serbs. And then if we scroll down, you'll see that just basically everybody just jumped in on this one. They had Unchained Alliance. Dread Bomb, Strayer Post, who else have we got? Simple Farmers. I mean, it's literally Purple Helmeted Royers, which is part of Wrecking Crew. Injected Minds, no idea who that is. Always see, we've even got someone from the Scope who just managed to get into this Abaddon fleet. So clearly this was a public fleet. Anybody could join in and just shoot at this structure. So yeah, so just wanted to show you that and to show you the mixture of pilots that are involved in that particular kill. Then let me see what they mentioned. Oh, see, a Dracus Fortizar also died, so that's a faction Fortizar, and that was in DYP7Q, which is somewhere in here. I can't even see it. It's I'm pretty certain that's right. Oh no, sorry, it was M-ZJWJ, which is right here. There we go. So that's why I couldn't find it. There was a test out spell that died in DYP7Q, which is actually down here. And that was actually killed by Ministry of Inappropriate Footwork, which, if you remember, I mentioned are in Tenerifis. And the reason why is because that is literally just right next door to them. So they obviously saw an opportunity there to just jump through and help out deep water hooligans there and just clear some of their structures for them. And yeah, so the last thing I have to report on in Immensia, which was rather bizarre to say the least, is in the first of my kind of unusual Killmails. Is if I can get my pen back. Let me see if I can get my pen back. There we go. It was in DWN2S. There we go, right there. And the reason why I need to show you this Killmail is because it was a Combat Wombat Asbel that was killed by Combat Wombat. So they AWOX'd their own Asbel. Now there wasn't much of a fitting on it, there was just the rigs. Just maybe they just wanted the core out of it really quickly and they didn't want to unanchor it and they just decided that was the quick way to do it. I don't know, but yeah, definitely not every day you see an Asbel getting AWOX'd, and so I would bring that up for you. Okay, so that's Immensia done. You see, we're storming through it again. We're going to go through Impasse now. So Impasse is clearly looking very different from it was a few weeks ago. And if you remember, I talked about last week how Sorry literally had just one system, and I thought they were going to project into the rest of the constellation, and they have. So they have now established themselves. Wrong are up here in the corner. And then last week I mentioned Midas 22, and I wasn't quite sure who these guys were, and I've now found out. So Midas 22 were part of Fire Coalition along with Red Alliance, and Red and Midas 22, both Russian-speaking alliances, both very good buddies, and Red and Midas 22 left together, and they've now come back and they've kind of set up shop in Impasse. So there you go. So that's kind of the background on Midas 22. So we get an idea of where they come from here. Now I know that Red are aligned with Red Alliance are aligned with the Imperium. I don't know if that's the case with Midas 22. They may be just simply here as part of Steinrus. Being the Stain coalitions, the Russian-speaking Stain coalitions, but because they're best buddies with Red, everything's fine. So as far as I know, everything is fine between all these groups. I think they're all just quite happy to take their Sov and settle themselves into Impasse. But the other thing that happened with Impasse as well that should be noted is that lots of Eternal Requiem structures died. I mean, lots. So before that, we had one Brave Fortizar that died. But we had, let me see, 3 Satios, 4 Fortizars, and 2 Faction Fortizars. All of these belonging to Eternal Requiem, and 2 Asbels. So there you go. So 3 Satios, 6 Fortizars, 2 Asbels, and I think now Impasse has pretty much been cleared. I don't think there's any more kind of pickings to be had from the vulturing of structures in Impasse. I think that's pretty much done now. Also, there's one other thing I need to mention as well. Was the last iHub that belonged to Brave, PZMA-E fell, so therefore this is now completely non-legacy territory. I believe this was quite an important system to Brave and potentially to Legacy Coalition. I believe there's a lot of Satias and structures there potentially. And I know that Brave did deploy to try and fight the Sov on this, but they were outnumbered and I don't think they had any backup, and so it fell. So that's kind of Impasse kind of wrapped up. So maybe next week I'll have nothing to say about Impasse. If there's no structures and no Sov, then it will be out of the news, and that will be quite bizarre. So let me make sure my pen is off. I'm going to go to Universe. OMIST. I'm going to mention OMIST very quickly because I always ignore OMIST and everyone says I have no love for OMIST. Well, nothing happens in OMIST. Okay, Army of Mango have all the sob there and nothing really happens, but I can say that some Madagascar penguins killed a Fortizar in OMIST. So there you go. There's actually some news for OMIST this week. Right, so let's clear that. There we go. And let's move on to Fethobolis. So Fethobolis. Now, if you remember last week, I talked about Invidia Gloria Comes, which is this IGC group up here. And I didn't really know much about them. And lots of people have been contacting me and telling me a little bit about them. And so I'm going to try and provide a little bit of insight here. So as I understand, IGC, or Invidia Gloria Comes, is primarily a Russian-speaking and German-speaking alliance. The alliance leaders have a long history at Fethobolis. They've kind of lived in Fethobolis for almost a decade or more, as I understand. But they were renting this space from Test and Legacy Coalition. And obviously Test have moved out. And what I was told, and I couldn't actually confirm this because it's not something I can do with just publicly available information, was that IGC, obviously you've got Deepwater Hooligans in here, you've got Of Sound Mind, you have also Wrecking Crew who are coming in as well. And clearly IGC wanted to keep this territory. And it's my understanding that they actually removed a lot of these iHubs that we now see cleared, that they had a part in this. Now, I can't actually confirm this, but what I can confirm, and I have a Killmail for this, it is a Fortizar. Here we go, they belong to Brave Collective in Fethobolis. Let me just grab my pen, there you go. So in Fethobolis, and you will see that the initiative were involved, but also IGC were involved in this. They actually brought a Serb fleet to kill this Fortizar. So this is a clear indication that IGC have broken all links with Legacy Coalition and are trying to either just claim neutrality or potentially embed themselves with the Imperium. As to which one that is, we will have to wait and see. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, no, we had a Test Fortizar as well that died down in, where was it? Let's have a look. Fethobolis, BJ4D. I can't even remember what that is now. Oh, it's up here. There we go. So that died there. Of Sound Mind, if you remember from last week, and if you watched my video about Deepwater Hooligans, my Alliance Spotlight video, hopefully you will watch that. I'm now doing videos on alliances and talking to alliance leaders about their alliances. They're very closely tied. Deepwater Hooligans and Of Sound Mind are tied. And they basically killed this with, I think, one super carrier. I'm losing my spot. There we go. One super carrier and then about 3 or 4 other ships like subcaps, and that was pretty much it. So yeah, that was that. Now the interesting thing after this, of course, is we have Invictus, and Invictus, that's IOU ticker right here. So far, been pretty much left alone. How long that will remain, we will have to see. Obviously, as we'll see when we move into Esoteria, Invictus have started moving into Esoteria, where Army of Mango are. And so they may be expecting, you know, for Deepwater Hooligans and Of Sound Mind especially, who have been very active, and now potentially Invidia Gloria Comes, are potentially going to then move into their territory. We'll have to see, and we'll take a look at that next week. Right, so that's Fethobolis sorted. So what we'll do now is, before we go into Esoteria, we're going to go to Catch. Now, a couple of interesting things have happened in Catch. So a couple of Brave Fortizars died to the initiative. So the initiative is still structure bashing, not quite as heavily as last week, where they went kind of all out, but they've been, you know, doing some stuff this week. There was a Prometheus, is a faction Fortizar that belonged to Brave that died in YHN-3K. What was actually interesting about this one is that not only did it die to AAA, who I talked about last week, who are Stain Roos Coalition, one of the main alliances of Stain Wagon back in the day before they were evicted in 2017 by Legacy Coalition. So they attacked this faction Fortizar, but there was also an alliance called Stribog Clade. And now Stribog Clade are actually a Pochven alliance, and they are a Triglavian role-playing alliance who showed up for this. Now, I understand it was kind of a bat phone call, a friend call from somebody associated to one of the alliances who were attacking, and they potentially thought they was going to be fought over, so they brought them in as kind of help. But once again, I get to mention an alliance which I personally never heard of before, and that was Stribog Clade, the Triglavian alliance. So there we go, and no Forksgiven were involved in that as well. Once again, third parties involved all over the place. Okay, so I'm losing my voice now. I'm going to have to probably cut in a minute. I'm going to try and finish this off though before anything else. So the other things I wanted to do was cover this J-ODE7. So this is literally, or was, I was about to say, was the last legacy coalition system in cache, but it isn't anymore, and we'll come to that in a sec. But in JTAC-O, something died. What was it? It was a Satio. There we go. So Satio died. A Warped Intention Satio died to Dreadbomb Supers, Carriers, and a Nightmare Fleet. So Dreadbomb, you know, who primarily are up here, part of Wrecking Crew. They're in obviously the whole north of Catch, and they're still clearly doing cleanup in Catch. And I think the idea is to just remove the structures, and eventually then the ADMs will drop, and then they will just finally get rid of this last Warped Intentions SOV in Catch. But this is the interesting bit. Let me clear this up. All the way in the bottom left-hand corner here, we have Severance. Severance have started taking iHubs. I think they fought over a couple of others, but they managed to hold on to this one. Now, Severance, as we'll see later on in Querious, they've been based in Querious for quite a long time. They're part of Legacy Coalition. They moved over to Querious very early on, kind of got themselves really well settled. They helped Brave get established in Querious as well. But now it looks like they're creeping back into Catch. So maybe they are potentially looking to take this, this whole south region, which is kind of cut off from the rest of Catch. The way that kind of jump ranges work, this kind of whole area below is kind of like cut off from the rest of the northern Catch. So they may be interested in trying to secure that to kind of provide themselves a beachhead back into Catch. So we will have to wait and see how that plays out. All right, so before I cut so that I can take a drink and get my voice back, I just want to say very quickly, please do like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon for notifications. I do release these war updates every week. I'm now doing alliance spotlights every week as well, so I'm going to give you some insight into all the amazing alliances that you find in EVE Online. And also be sure to leave comments. I'm always interested to hear what you have to say. And please join my Discord as well, where I have lots of pilots from all kinds of different alliances, all kind of just giving just publicly information, nothing OBSEC, just kind of what's going on. And I've even been hearing about snuff, and there's been loads of stuff going on about snuff in LowSec, which is really interesting as well. I may cover it one day if I get the time, we'll have to see. And obviously do mention me in your Discord, in your Corp Discord, your Alliance Discord, all that kind of good stuff. All right, so I'm going to quickly cut, and I'll be right back with you for the rest of this program. Okay, slap, I'm ready to go. All right, so let's go back to our map again. So Paragon Sol and Period Basis, down the bottom, nothing to report, just kind of everything still pretty much the same as before. So we're going to skip past those, and we're going to go to Querious. So with Querious, the first thing to note is an alliance whose name I've forgotten, Sentinel Dawn. Sentinel Dawn have taken this whole constellation. And before this was owned by a whole bunch of different groups. There was Sorry in Advance, there was Wrong, there was also, I think Midas 22 even had a couple of iHubs, and that's all been consolidated by Sentinel Dawn. As you can see as well, Brave have been super busy. They've been pretty much consolidating all of Querious in the northeast. As you can see, this is fake Delve, so Tests want this, as this is very much in the Delve kind of pocket still, the Delve region, as this is only accessible through Delve. And then I'm running out of colors, so I'm going to do pink again. And obviously Severance, who I mentioned just a minute ago, here, that's actually terrible. Let me just clear that. There we go. So Severance are down the bottom here. As I mentioned earlier, they've now gone into 4-07 into catch. So that's kind of the link with what we saw earlier. But the main thing with Querious is Brave has been on a major cleanup. Now, obviously, they've taken these areas up here, which were still needed to be done. And they're obviously still fighting Darwinism up here. And obviously there's a little bit of fight back over there. But the main thing is structures, loads and loads of structures. Primarily, I think they're all, in fact, I think they're all Goon Swarm. Yeah, they're all Goon Swarm structures in Querious got cleared. So a total of 12 Fortizars. So 8 of those were standard Fortizars. And then there were 2 Prometheus Fortizars, 1 Dracus Fortizar, and 1 Marginis Fortizar. So that's 4 faction Fortizars for a total of 12 Fortizars. And that was primarily Legacy Coalition, so Brave and Severance, along with Test and Co. came in as well, so Tappy. And then I think Pandemic Horde as well jumped in on a few of those structure bashes as well. So that's kind of the main news that we have for Querious, is that there's been a kind of a major structure cleanup. Obviously, we still have some Doomclock Keepstars. We have GOP, we have W6V, and I think we had the ones down here. I think it's these 2. I can never remember. There's a couple down here as well. So those are still on the Doomclock, and I believe those are now Sino-jammed, but I can't actually 100% confirm that, but they are capable of being Sino-jammed. I know that for certain. All right, so that is Querious pretty much done. Now, where we're going to jump up to next is actually we're going to go to Fountain. So Fountain has been like super interesting because there's been lots and lots going on here. Now, Federation Uprising have been super busy, and they've kind of been going tit for tat with Siberian Squad. So if you remember, Siberian Squad tried to get themselves settled in Querious, and they actually held this whole constellation. That was terrible, but you get where I'm coming from there. My doodles are not always great. So they did hold the whole constellation. Federation Uprising have now managed to take 2 back. And as you can see from the orange glows, it looks like the iHubs have been reinforced, and there is some software warfare going on there as well. Now, the interesting things that we have here, also before we go on, one of the things I want to point out here is if you're wondering why Federation Uprising are kind of going up this kind of left-hand side of the Dotland map, I need to show you, if I go to navigation and I do, is it Y-2NO? I think it's Y2NO, yeah, okay. So this is the system at the bottom of Fountain, the bottom left-hand corner. If we go to range, there we go, so let me do that just again. So Y-2NO, there we go. And we pick an avatar. If we do a go, you can see the jump range. And we go to Fountain. You can see the jump range is all within this kind of top, this left-hand side. Funnily enough as well, over on the right here, you can see we've got this one lone system, because obviously the map is 3D, and that one system just wraps around and is actually within range of Y2NO, which is down here in the bottom. So this is kind of your projection for Federation Uprising. So this means they can Titan Bridge, they can drop caps, they can basically fight very well in this region. And that's kind of why this has all been on the left-hand side. So let me just clear all that out again, and just so we make our map nice and clean again, let me just go back to Fountain. There we go. So the other interesting things is we're seeing other Legacy Coalition, Tappy alliances kind of getting involved here. So for example, we have Intrepid Cossing have taken, excuse me, a couple of systems down here. And then you have an alliance I haven't really talked about very much called Gangbang Team. That's UMAD, and they're up the north here. And they're obviously harassing Ranger Regiment up the top. They did actually take some systems in this constellation, and it looks like they had an arrangement with Federation Uprising to give that over to Federation Uprising, and it looks like they're trying to now settle in this constellation up the north. So, and as you can see, a whole bunch of init That's the initiative. This is Imperium. iHubs have been reinforced down here as well. So there's kind of lots of stuff going on at the moment up here, and it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. This is also a third party whose name I can't remember. I believe they're from Syndicate. So if let me just turn off my pen, look them up. United Fleet. So as I understand, they live in Syndicate, and they've been fighting a lot up there, and it looks like they decided to try and sort of settle themselves into Fountain. So we'll have to see how that plays out with United UF. And then obviously Ranger Regiment at the top here within it, and we'll see where that goes as well. Now, once again, I have another one of these strange Killmails. So let me bring this up. So this Killmail happened in 9DQW-W up here, and it is most bizarre. So what we have is, as I understand, it was an Astra house belonging to Forsaken Empire, who are third parties but are in good relations, I believe, with Federation Uprising. And they were being attacked by Ranger Regiments. The Ranger Regiment jumped a bunch of dreads. And then Federation Uprising came and helped, and they dropped their own dreads and some carriers, and a fight kind of broke out. And as you can see, that on the Empire side, the Imperium side, there was a loss of, hang on, let me just highlight it, here we go, of 34 billion. And then on the PAPI side, stroke third parties and so forth, there was a loss of 75 billion. And a big part of this loss was a Nyx, and this Nyx isn't a fleet-fitted Nyx. So you can see here, it belongs to Rob Zahn. Now, Rob Zahn is kind of fairly infamous. He is an FC in Northern Coalition, and he is the one that has been responsible for inviting loads of, well, quite a few, should I say, Imperium super capitals to fleet on the 1DQ Keepstar, warping them to an asteroid belt and then dread bombing them. So he's been pretty successful at that. I think it's about 3 or 4 Titans and two or three super capitals at a guess. It's kind of a rough figure, but to give you an idea. But this, let me bring up his Killmail. This Nyx was not a fleet Nyx. In fact, as you can see from the rig fittings, he had hyperspatials rigs, he had hyperspatials in lows, he's got an inertial stab, he's then got a battleship micro warp drive for a really faster line, no tank whatsoever, and max damage. So this is basically a run-hit-run Nyx, and somehow it ended up in range of Ranger Regiment dreads and died. So really, really interesting scenario there. I have no idea what happened, how this came to be. I'm sure somebody will let me know at some point, and it'll be in the comments, and I'm sure we'll be really interested to all find out what that was about. So that pretty much wraps it up for Fountain. Then now obviously we're going to finish off as usual with Delve. So with Delve, it's all about the Keepstars, and PAPI have been continuing to bash Keepstars. And let me grab my pen. So 2 died on the Monday night just after my video release, or during my video release. So this kind of whole constellation now has been cleared of Keepstars. Then the area that was then focused on was this one right here. And the Keepstars that died were in, let me see, HZAQ, ZG, these are all Goon Swarm by the way, 39P, and a 1 TNT Keepstar died in NIDJ-K. So that was a total of 5 Goon Swarm Keepstars and 1 test Keepstar in 1 week. Sorry, one test, 1 tactical narcotics team. I saw the double T's and I kind of misread. So yeah, tactical narcotics team Keepstar died. So I think 6 Keepstars died in 1 week has got to be a record, right? I don't think that's ever happened. And so structure bashing is totally a thing. On top of that, there were 2 Satios. I think there were 5 total Goon Swarm Fortizars, 4 of them standard Fortizars, and 1 Dracus faction Fortizar as well died. All to PAPI during their cleanup of Delve and their structure bashing. So I have something to show you here as well. Obviously we have the Doom Clock, so let me bring up the Doom Clock. You'll be familiar with this from last week. So as you can see, we still have quite a few systems that are still ready to hit. And I would assume these are going to be potentially hit in the last week. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Obviously, some of these are in Querious. I've mentioned them earlier, such as GOP, W6V, I think BX and YQX potentially are there as well. And then, with following on with my doodles, you can see that we're still on our doom clocks over here. Let me just redo that. There we go. We've got 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming out this week. That's obviously if these iHubs are held. If obviously they're reinforced and flipped, then these doom clocks will reset. And then we have just 2 left after that that are beyond that week. And then obviously you can see now that the number of Keepstars that have now died is getting quite substantial. And I think it's almost kind of on a par with the number that's still alive. And I believe PAPI have been busy with some propaganda artwork or a propaganda site. It is called The Road So Far. And it shows in red the Keepstars that have died, in orange the Keepstars that are doom clocked, and in green the Keepstars that have yet to still be destroyed. And if you hover over them, you kind of get this kind of weird creature who is a pandemic hordling with a test head, with a fraternity bib. I can't see it from the wobbling. I assume there's a pandemic or pan-fam element in there as well. But as you scroll over them, you can see you end up with loads of these wobbly creatures. And then obviously you can see down the bottom here, we have in 1DQ, let me just highlight that. You can see there's a whole bunch of Keepstars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in 1DQ alone. And obviously 1DQ is kind of the holy grail for this war. That's the win condition for the Imperium, that they will hold that constellation and they will sit there and wait for that to be attacked. So let's move away from that now and go back to our Delph map. A couple of other things. There was a Titan death, as always. I always try and mention Titan deaths. This one was a Goon Swarm Titan. Unfortunately, he decided to log in on a Keepstar that was no longer there. The Keepstar died, I think, about a week ago in 5-CQDA. He logged in, there was no Keepstar, and he was just out there, and he got caught by Pandemic Horde. And obviously PAPI just jumped in there as well and got on that kill. But I did promise you another strange Killmail, and this is it here. It was a Raya, so this is a jump freighter. And we're talking about big Killmail here, 68 billion Killmail with 33 billion dropped. So that's a big drop, that's a big Killmail. And obviously the thing to look out for here is it belonged to Get Off My Lawn being part of the Imperium, and killed by Get Off My Lawn. So it was AWOXed. Now, I don't know why, whether this was purely for monetary gain or whether it was personal. I would assume it was personal because there's no guarantee that this would have dropped. If that was personal, that must have seriously hurt. So there you go. So that was my third Killmail of the week. So that pretty much wraps it up for kind of my war reporting. As always, I always have my a little bit of propaganda at the end, some artwork and stuff. I have 3 bits of artwork, 2 from Deepwater Hooligans. So there we go. So we have this one, which looks pretty cool, kind of the whole film look to it, kind of disaster movie, Die Hard feel to it. Looks really good. We also have another one, Nightmare on 5th Street. If ARP doesn't wake up screaming, they won't wake up at all. Once again, I like the capsuleer in there as well. That's kind of a nice little touch there. And that looks like looks like an Astra house in the background, possibly. But yeah, so that looks really cool. And then, sorry in advance, they're in a Canadian alliance I've mentioned to you before. They're over in Impasse. With Wrong and Red, and clearly they're mentioning here that they've got a moon, and they're hoping that nobody's going to see it, apparently. Well, guess what? It's now public information. So, I'm sorry if you lose your moon to Wrong and Red. I do apologize, but you did send me the artwork, so sorry in advance, I think is the only answer to, the only thing I can say at this point. All right, so that wraps it up from me, and hopefully you enjoyed that. As always, please give me a like, give me the thumbs up, please subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications, mention me in your Corp Discord, your Alliance Discord. I also did a podcast just recently for Declarations of War. I will put that up as a community post as soon as I know when that's going to be released, and I'm hoping to have another Alliance for you in the next few days as a new video as well. All right, that's all from me, losing my voice again, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.